how would the BRICS currency actually work? Well, the BRICS currency was actually first announced in 2015, but then it kind of ran dead and just no one actually paid attention anymore. And obviously there is one theory that this might be, and this is what I discussed in my previous video, I'll link it up here, that is that they wanted the currency to be backed by gold, and they found out that they didn't have enough gold. So these BRICS countries, namely Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, decided, hey, let's stockpile up on gold before we start this currency so that we actually have gold to start the currency. Except South Africa. South Africa, for some reason, didn't stockpile gold. It's really quite ironic, because South Africa is, I think, is sitting on the third largest gold reserve in the ground, and it actually broke, it still owns the record of the most gold mined in a year. I think it's like just underneath 1,000 metric tons. But yeah, South Africa is not stockpiling. Anyway, the second theory, why the BRICS currency didn't actually realize back then, but now it's sort of a thing again, might be sort of the home of the currency. The currency didn't have a home or a bank where this currency sort of was managed. And I've done a bit of sort of research, and I've sort of looked at a couple of banks that possibly might fit the bill, that might be this new home of the currency. And one of the banks I found was the Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, or the AIIB. But it's sort of close, but it's not really, it doesn't really fit the bill 100% yet. Or not yet, but it doesn't really fit the bill. It's almost like it's too integrated with the rest of the world's banks, and it's not really a fit for purpose bank. It's more like a general bank, and there's also a lot of countries already involved in the bank, so it doesn't look like that is a solution. Now the second bank, and this is actually the bank that I think, is the New Development Bank, or the NDB. Another reason why I think it's this bank is because it used to be called the BRICS Bank, so that's a a big possibility. And in 2015, when they announced this new currency, when it just went dead and nobody heard anything about it, this bank was not operational. It was in the works, but it wasn't running yet. It was like, I think it's been in the works for like 2 years or something. So it's very, very new then. But it is running now, and I know in 2019 it did like $40 billion worth of loans, and basically how it works is that each country in the BRICS basically holds a stake in this bank. So it is a bank for the BRICS countries. It's to me, that's much more fit for purpose to actually be this new reserve currency home. But now, what role exactly is this bank going to play? How is it going to work? So I've left some resources in the description, and this is really speculative. It's a lot of theories. I've read up on a lot of things, and I've sort of came to my own conclusions. So these are not facts, but these are theories. So the original plan back in 2015, with this, when they announced the first time when they announced this new BRICS reserve currency, basically what they were sort of intended how it would be used is that each country actually owns currency of the other countries, and they would basically trade in each other's currencies. So Russia and China has actually been doing this since 2014. They've done actual substantial amounts of trading in each other's currencies. The Russia has been using the Chinese yuan for quite a bit, and a lot of people even say that the yuan is Russia's reserve currency. So basically the idea is that let's use an example. Let's say we've got South Africa here and Brazil here. If South Africa wants to buy goods from Brazil, South Africa would open a bank account in Brazil that's obviously in real, that's the Brazilian currency, and they would keep real in that bank account. Like, let's say 100 million real would sit in that bank account. But that's just basically like a current account. It's just something that's got the cash. It still belongs to South Africa. when South Africa buys goods from Brazil, they pay Brazil from that bank account to Brazil. So it's basically a local transaction, and vice versa. If Brazil obviously buys from South Africa, Brazil would open a bank account in South Africa that contains rands. It will be owned by Brazil, and if Brazil purchases goods from South Africa, it will pay it in rands. So this actually works pretty well. It's actually it's a very good setup because there's not a lot of external factors. You trade sort of in your own currency. The problem with this is if you have 100 countries. Obviously, BRICS at the moment is just 5 countries, but let's say it does advance to a point where there is 100 countries involved. Now, each country has to hold bank accounts in each other country. So it becomes messy. It becomes very, and then, yeah, it's just not a long-term solution. So I don't think that's how it will actually work. Another theory is that the NDB bank, the bank I spoke about now, the New Development Bank, that bank will actually hold currencies of all the banks. So it will have like a couple of, let's 100 million of South African rands, 100 million of royals, 100 million of yuan, etc., etc., etc. And each country will then have a bank account at that bank. And when, let's say, Brazil pays South Africa, Brazil will pay in real to the bank from their bank account. And the bank will then basically do an exchange to rands and then pay it into South Africa's bank account in rands. So that's the other theory. But then there was also a couple of other theories mentioned. One is Bitcoin, that it will actually use Bitcoin as a mechanism of exchange. I think this is very unlikely, purely because Bitcoin it's too volatile. I mean, it had 66% inflation in 6 months. That's a little hectic. I mean, the whole world falls apart when we experience like 10% inflation. So it's too volatile. It's also too young. Gold, on the other hand, has been around for thousands of years. It sort of has proved that it can actually be a mechanism of exchange and a store of value. So that's actually why the last theory that I have, which actually I think this is the closest to what it will be, is that the bank will actually hold a lot of gold, and there's going to be some token that it could be like a crypto token, like a gold crypto token that the bank basically releases. So it's still going to use this NDB bank, that it releases a gold token in exchange for gold. And then that gold token you can then basically trade with. So you basically take, let's say, 10 tons of gold to the bank. It will release, let's say, a couple of thousand tokens to you. Maybe a token will be equal to 1 ounce of gold. And then you can then, basically the token basically is saying that if I have the token, if the token's in my possession, it actually means that I have 1 ounce of gold, and it's stored at the NDB bank. That's basically what the token is going to mean. So if I transfer the token to someone else and they have the token, I'm essentially giving him that ounce of gold. So this it might not be a token. It might be like a bond or some other means of it's basically how the gold standard used to work. It's like almost like paper fiat money to say that, okay, this paper means I actually own gold in a reserve somewhere. There is a bit of a problem with that. Basically, we're going back to the gold standard. And the gold standard does have some issues. The gold standard in general works, but as soon as there's some wobbliness in the economies and stuff starts going south, then it can become a problem. The reason is that gold it doesn't grow very quickly. So the amount of gold in the world is very static. It grows very slowly. There's more and more gold, but the general tendency is obviously that the world and the economies in the world grows faster than gold itself can increase. So basically, the result of that is the value of gold always goes up. And as these countries basically experience inflation spikes, a natural sort of thing would be for these countries to hog these tokens. So if you have gold tokens and you know you're in a period where there's extreme inflation in your currency, let's say your currency is rand, or then your currency is losing value at a rapid rate. So you would just hold these tokens until your currency recovers, and then you'll obviously start trading again. The problem is the general tendency is for people to hog gold and not actually trade with it. I mean, if you look at the world now, most of the places where there's gold, people are just hogging it. They're not trying to actually trade with it. So that's the general sort of nature of gold. So that's going to be a bit of an obstacle that they're going to have to fix with this, if they follow that route. One thing they can do, which I've sort of thought of, which is quite a nice way around the issue, which might work, is that these tokens can have an expiry date. So you can't hog them. You can maybe get like a 2-year token where it means that you own this ounce of gold, but you can only hold it for 2 years. Within 2 years, that you have to take that token, go back to the bank and exchange it for actual currency, for fiat currency like rand, real, or whatever. Otherwise, that token expires and it automatically just goes back to the bank and you essentially lose that gold. So that's another way it might work, where they might use some crypto sort of electronic means of actually managing that, and that's something that can actually fix it. Another reason why I also think it's actually linked to gold is obviously because these countries we know has been stockpiling gold. So that might be the reason. It might be that they, as soon as they sort of activate this currency, they're all going to go to this bank, possibly the NDB bank, and give it the gold and get tokens back that they can then trade with. So they obviously, because they already own the gold and they give it to the bank, they can just get tokens for it. And the other reason, this might sound a little sort of counterintuitive, is actually because the United States, which is currently the world's currency, actually also has a lot of gold. The reason I think it's actually a good thing for the BRICS countries is that obviously there's almost a bit of a war going on between the BRICS countries and the US with who's going to have the next reserve currency. And the US is obviously going to find a way to fight back in a certain way so that it can keep its reserve currency status. And if, let's say for argument's sake, the US didn't have any gold, then it will be in the US's interest to basically bring the price of gold down as much as it can. It would try whichever technique possible to just bring the price of gold down so that it actually fights the value of this new reserve currency. The problem is now, because the US owns a lot of gold, it's going to be to their own detriment if they do devalue gold. So I think maybe it is actually one of the strategies that they were thinking of when they picked gold as a backing currency. So, yeah. But anyway, these are merely speculations. It's just theories. These are not facts. These are just some sort of pieces of information I've come up with, and I've sort of put them together so that it forms a picture. If you like the speculations, remember to press the button. And if you want to see more, remember to subscribe. Until next time, this is Steve. Ciao.